Welcome to the Tomorrow's World Today podcast. We sit down with experts, world-changing innovators, creators, and makers to explore how they're taking action to make tomorrow's world a better place for technology, science, innovation, sustainability, the arts, and more.
In this episode, George Davison, host of Tomorrow's World Today on Science, sits down with Diana Young, Senior Vice President of Innovation, Design, and Development Strategy at Spin Master. They dive into the world of toy innovation, exploring how Spin Master predicts trends, the creative process behind toy design, and how this leading toy company continues to shape the landscape of child's play. Now, here's George Davison.
Welcome, Diana.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here, George. Appreciate it.
Of course. Well, I hope you'll share some of your stories with us today about the things that go on in your world, because our audience likes to know a lot about like the inside making of these companies and whatnot.
Yeah.
So could you tell us a little bit about what your position's like at Spin Master?
Yeah. So it's a great place to be Spin Master, right? We spend all of our days making toys and bringing entertainment to kids around the globe. And I did product development for the last 10 years at Spin Master. And now I actually lead innovation and strategy for our toy team. So focused more on the front end of the development now than the full cycle, which is very, very fun.
That's got to be interesting. Like, how do you foresee a future so that you're strategically heading the company in the right direction for the kids?
Yeah, it's hard because, our toys take about 18 months to develop, right? To make sure it's manufacturable and safe for kids. And it's got all the fun that we need to be in there. And so right now, actually, we're in the end of 24. We're working on our 26 product. So to your point, like, how do we know what's going to be interesting in 26? Well, kind of like everybody else, we're taking some guesses. We like to take a lot of shots on goal and most of them work. Sometimes they don't work, but that's what's fun about being in innovation and in development is you try things, some work and some don't.
Right. So is there like a secret place that you could like look into and say, oh, I think that's going to be a big area to play in? Or do you do a lot of research? Like, how can you give me an outline as to how it works?
Yeah. I mean, if there was a secret ball that I could look into, I wouldn't be at this company. I'd be running my own thing. We all wish that. But it's a combination. So we do a lot of consumer research. So we're out always talking to kids and figuring out what they're interested in. But because of the lead time to create the product, to bring it to market, we really need to be guessing and predicting what they're going to be interested in 2 years from now. And so we partner with our, brand marketing team who's always out scouring for white space, right? Where there isn't a lot of toys competing with us. And we have a lot of innovation processes that allow us to like hunt and gather the latest thing, even for adults, that we can then translate into a kid's toy in the upcoming season.
Yeah, I think, in the field of, like if we go back a little bit, we refer to that as an observational analysis, like just trying to figure out the future. It's hard sometimes. But by using our observational analysis abilities, maybe we can sense where things are going. You called it white space, I think, is like finding those spots that are yet to be tickled.
That's exactly it. That's exactly what we're looking for. And like I said, we, with innovation, just like anything else in STEM or STEAM, you're just constantly trying. So we're trying one thing and we're doing testing with kids. So very early in our process, we bring kids in to play with our toys and see what they like, what they don't like. Is it too hard to do? Are they interested in it for more than, 10 minutes? Or is it a 5-minute thing and then they're on to the next product? And so it's not totally random, right? Like we're really focused. We start with a lot of ideas. And then as we go through our development funnel, things come out and things continue to get better and refined.
So Diana, this is always in your background, even when you were younger? I mean, how do you go from where you were as an early starter-upper to what you're doing today?
I mean, I've always been creative and technical. So it's kind of that like combination of both. I think that positions me for what I do today. I studied engineering in university, so mechanical and biomedical engineering, which doesn't really align with toys. But found myself in a number of roles earlier in my career in the consumer goods area. And then here at Spin Master, like I said, 10 years ago, in a different role, I got an opportunity to come into product development. And that's like
Hmm.
really where my heart is. And I think, as a kid, I was taking things apart and putting them back together, but also teaching sewing and pottery at camps. And so it's kind of that, like when we think about, again, STEM and Steve, it's like that marriage between the arts and the science and tech and engineering.
So what would you say then is the most exciting part of this job for you?
Well, that's easy because the most exciting part is like seeing all of the new products that we're working on. And it's like, we have this big team who spends a tremendous amount of time on a dedicated project. And I, in my role, thankfully get to oversee a lot of it and sit in the meetings and brainstorm ideas and challenges and opportunities. And that is just so, so fun because the stuff that our innovation and design and development teams are coming up with is amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, I want to look in there. I'm probably not allowed though.
I'd have to swear you to secrecy another time, not on a podcast.
All right, let's go back a little bit then. I mean, Spin Master's a famous company now. It's a large corporation. So can you give us a little summary of the history?
Yeah, it's just such an interesting story. So it started out in 1994, so 30 years ago, in fact, just 30th anniversary, with three friends in Canada. So Anton, Renan, and Benny had gone to school and actually camps together. And it started with this novelty item called Earth Buddies. So think of like a stocking that has dirt in it and seams, and it grows the hair of the guy. It looks like a face. And they started manufacturing that. And then they just fell in love with the toy industry. And then they got into Air Hogs and Bakugan and Paw Patrol about 10 years ago. And then we've acquired companies as well, like Tech Deck and Gund, Etch-a-Sketch, and most recently our Melissa and Doug acquisition, core brand that in fact, you might see some behind me, my kids play with a lot. And so, as our toy portfolio has grown over the last 30 years, they realized that they wanted to invest not only in toy, but in entertainment and digital. And so we've created, and entertainment was first with Bakugan and Paw Patrol. And then more recently, this digital pillar, we've acquired companies in there so that we're more than just a toy company. We're a full children's entertainment company. So reaching them on the screen, in an app, or in a physical product.
Wonderful. What a good growth curve. How big is Spin Master now?
Well, we've got about 3,000 employees and they're across the globe. So we sit in about 20 different countries, but our toys are sold in like 100 countries, and our
Wow.
entertainment and digital, between toys, entertainment, and digital, you'll find us in like effectively every country in the world.
And I have so many questions, but is there a single toy that you can think of that you would say is the one that really made Spin Master take off and become like a global name?
Oh, there's so many. I think Bakugan was the first. Like, it was a phenom. When The Simpsons is putting your toy on their show, you really, you made it. That was for sure the first. That was before my time, but I knew about it even when I started. And then, more recently, Paw Patrol, right? I mean, it's been around for 10 years. It's like a leading entertainment property in the preschool space. And the toys, continue to be amazing and win toadies, which are these toy awards. I would say those two were the real major ones, but Hatchimals, also a phenom. I don't know if you had kids in the Hatchimals year where everybody was trying to get them. We were trying to ship as many as we could. You can't predict when, you want every toy to be a phenom. Everything we developed, we were like, that's a good, amazing toy, the best toy we've ever developed. And so there's just too many to choose from, but a couple on top of my mind.
So what do you think is going to be the big hot one for this holiday season?
Well, I think it's probably going to be our new Hatchimals. So we are relaunching, based on our original Hatchimals, which was this cool creature that hatches out of an egg. We're relaunching it, which is better than ever. So it's called Hatchimals Alive Mystery Hatch. And it is a whole new way to hatch, which is so magical. And in fact, it's out on the market now, but my kids get a little bit of a sneak peek. They're part of the testing group that I talked about. Just at Christmas last year, actually, my kids and their friends gathered all around a table at my house. and were quiet for like all the time while the Hatchimal was hatching. They were loving it to life. And then, there was a little fighting afterwards of who got to hold the Hatchimal first, but they eventually took turns. So I really think that toy is
Wow.
going to be the it toy for this holiday season.
So it captured their attentions while it was being born.
And
That
even
much.
after, but the
Wow.
there's smoke in it, not to give anything away, but there's smoke in it. It reacts to
Yeah.
your love. And then there's my kids are young, but there's a music mode afterwards where it's like disco light. I mean, that was all.
Oh my
The
goodness.
parents were like singing to it as well. Like we were all getting into it.
How much fun is that? So based on that, I mean, just some of the goodies that's going to happen there. Would you say that's one of the biggest technological advances that's been launched through the product line recently?
Hatchimals, yeah, and what we've been able to do this year is really, really cool on Hatchimals. I think if I look at the last 10 years, when we launched Hatchimals, which was probably 6 years ago, no one had ever seen it. It was truly like brand new and very challenging to create.
Yes.
Bitsy is another product that we talked on when we were on the show, but that is also a big like advancement in tech for the toy space, like a pet that you can actually touch. It's across the board. We're all like, that's what Spin Master does, is try to bring the newest technology or the newest technology that's come to a reasonable price to the mass market for kids.
I'm curious. You brought up earlier in the transition of the organization, but you eventually got into the storytelling side, the entertainment side. What was the first product that combined, the ideas of what would make for a great toy with media product or storytelling? That's a real big thing. You can create new technology, but if you can't tell a good story, it usually doesn't capture hearts and minds.
Yeah, for sure. And for us, absolutely, it was Bakugan, right? And so that had a TV show with it, which was around, collecting and battling your Bakugan. And the toy was amazing. I don't know how familiar you are with it, but it's like effectively a little ball that you roll and you have cards. And when it rolls onto the card, it opens up and transforms into its Bakugan. And there's a game with it as well. So that actually brought all three elements, like the storytelling of the show, and then the battling and the magic of the toy with the actual gameplay, which encouraged everybody to collect more so than just watching the show.
Yes. So they could create their own show, so to speak, right?
Exactly.
Their own battles and show
Correct.
at home.
Yeah, because they
that's
were battling in the
wonderful.
show. Yeah.
Yes. All right. So can you talk about a little the history of Paw Patrol
Yeah.
and how it became a big success?
Paw Patrol, I love. I mean, you can't see that I'm surrounded by the Paw Patrol products in my office/kids playroom that I'm in today. Paw was born from a vision of creating a preschool show that was anchored in the concept of transformation, similar to Bakugan, actually. And so we had such a successful launch with Bakugan in the kind of action space for kids. We wanted to figure out how to bring that same kind of play of transformation to the preschool space. So we went to a number of creators, and actually Keith Chapman, who is the creator of Bob the Builder, came back with a concept that was actually called Robbie's Rescue Dogs. And it featured pups with everyday jobs that kids would be familiar with. Again, focus on preschool kids. And the concept that their dog house could transform into these rescue vehicles. And so actually that's how we started the show. And then, Archie tweaked the characters. We turned them into puppies and changed the names and came up with how the dog houses would transform into their rescue vehicles and partnered with Nickelodeon. And that's how we started Paw Patrol.
What a great backstory to that. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Of course. And
I'm always curious as to how things come to be. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're fine. I was just going to say, I think one of the things that makes it, because you asked how it started, which is that, but what keeps it alive and in the hearts of all these kids and parents out there is, I think, the marriage between the entertainment and how we're able to bring what they see on the screen into their house. And so it's the marriage between the entertainment and the toy. And, my kids love Paw Patrol, and you can imagine a lot of the toys, and they just love, the toys are there to allow them to recreate and make up new stories of adventure and empowerment and teamwork that they see in the show, but in our house.
Yes.
Right. And so I think it's that marriage between the two. You need a good entertainment show, but you also need the kids to want to play in their lives and kind of have that experience in their house.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Is that something that you tried to carry forward as well with Bitsy? Because we featured Bitsy on Tomorrow's World today. Can you kind of run me up to speed on how that one evolved? Is it similar?
Yeah, so that's such an interesting one because, when you talk about how we're coming up with the next technology, Bitsy actually wasn't a white space. We found this really cool technology. Actually an engineer at our company saw it, and then we put it in our brain trust of amazing designers, and then they turned it into this great product, and then we created it. So it actually started with the technology and turned into this versus Paw, which started with a show. And so when we look at how Bitsy is evolving, it's always about storytelling, to your point, but the storytelling of Bitsy is within the product, right? You've got, 25 characters to collect, and you have to grow and evolve them and nurture them and take care of them. And then you can play games with them as well. And what we launched this year that is already out on the market is our Bitsy Magical, which is also very fun, and our Bitsy Disney, which is for the slightly older kid who's really into Disney and they can collect all these characters. But for next year, and I can't tell you exactly what it is, but we have evolved it even more and took the core of the playroom, which is the pet that you can physically interact with and take care of, and evolved that and added a ton more new ways of playing and interacting. And we've got a number of new products coming out next year on their Bitsy evolution effect that are amazing that I know are going to do incredibly well. So
Yeah, it sounds really exciting. I'll look forward to that one. And
For sure.
my mind's coming up with ideas right now as to where you might be going with that. Probably more engagement is in that world. So good stuff. How about AI? Do you guys incorporate AI into your product development world at all?
Yeah, we're looking at it, of course, but it's a big discussion that we have all the time around how do we use it while we're still protecting our IP and our creative engine, right? Our design and development org, as well as the kids that we are getting our close to. And so it's I think in everybody's future, right? And it's pretending that we don't want to use it is not accurate. But we're not going to be on the forward edge because we're with kids, right? And we want to make sure
Right.
everything that we do, one around our IP, but also just around the products that we make, is designed really focused with kids in mind. And so there are a number of tools that we're looking at that can take our great ideas and help us bring it faster. And that's where we're focused now versus saying AI tool is going to, design our next Bitsy, which is, maybe 20 years from now. But right now,
Yeah.
we need our creative designers and our engineers for that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you have these wonderful brains, and that these creative people have. They love to create things, and if you can ignite them, I love the idea of human creation in a different way than AI. Sometimes it can be helpful, at least from the world we're looking at, from a research perspective, where
Yeah.
you want to get a glimpse as to maybe a different way of how other people think about things. Sometimes, research is such a vital role in product development. I'm assuming that you do quite a bit of that.
We do quite a bit of research. So we do research on adult trends and research on our competitive products. If we look at our internal teams, and then, I mentioned earlier, in fact, we took Tamara into our lab when she was visiting us in Toronto. We do a lot of research with kids as well, getting the first even concept sketches in front of them. What are they interested in? It's so important when you're designing your product for people that you're talking to those people. And in our case, those people are the small humans. So you don't always get very clear answers from them, but you can get get directional feedback.
Right. I like that, small humans. That's very good. All right. So what do you think the next big innovation will be in your industry? Are you seeing any trends?
Oh man, that is a good question. I think what we're seeing right now is kids are interested in kind of magic, right? So when you look at Hatchimal, well, how does that hatch out of its egg? It's magical, right? And you look at some of our competitive products, where did that come from, right? So it's not like a magic trick where you're guessing the card that they've picked, but it's this wonder of what is going to happen next. Then,
Yes.
maybe not like in necessarily tech but that's a key area that has become more at the forefront of the toy industry. And you see a lot of companies kind of going to that space. But I think, with toy and the way it's kind of structured, you don't know what's going to be the next hit, right? So with this industry, it's about trying a lot of different things and always putting your best product forward and kind of, like I said, again, trying to guess the future, but making sure you have the kid in mind and kind of seeing what sticks.
Diana, this has been so insightful. I want to thank you very much for sharing your time with us. Well, everybody, that's another edition of Tomorrow's World Today. Diana, thank you so much.
Of course. Thanks, George.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Tomorrow's World Today podcast. Join us next time as we continue to explore the worlds of inspiration, creation, innovation, and production. Discover more at tomorrowsworldtoday.com and connect with us on social media at TWT Explore. And find us wherever podcasts are available.